My father's a broadcast engineer, so when I was young, he'd take me to Channel 18. I would make a lot of skate videos, so I would get to use all the factory cameras from work and then take them out to whether we're skating at parks or hitting rails on UK's campus, and all that was so interesting to me. What I take from the different cultures and the different backgrounds, I try to put them in as like little seasonings. I'm thinking about like traveling and whatnot. I always get turned on by architecture. So wherever I'm going to, whether it is, like I've been to Ethiopia and into China and different like European countries, and when you're sitting there looking at how they built stuff, that volume and dynamic is what I'm trying to put into my work. For me, when I'm making art, I reach back to all those Renaissance practices and portraits and old school techniques. So like the way that I paint is a traditional Renaissance technique where you are layering upon layer. And what's happening is the light's coming in and bouncing around. But for instance, like the Asian culture with the brush and how they can move it so well. And the narrative, rather than going across, it's a lot of times it can be up and down. I mean, it still is a scroll and it shows a narrative this way, but there's a sense of like heaven present, or the deceased present in heaven and whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff that I take from narrative from those, and I learn from the way they distort things. So in other words, the way that Americans can paint something in a way, another culture brings a whole new filter for me. My concept still, though, was how penguins save television. Penguins can't fly. They're looking for this lost, archaic device, which is a TV. Everybody just reads. And so they have to do engineering, and they build these jetpacks. And they fly all over the world. And they find out that this TV was a tortoise, and now it's a sea turtle, and it comes up out of the water. And they are, of course, super stoked, but their travel around the world enlightens them, because without a narrative or writing, you can't have a television program. You can't have a story. You can't just make a TV show without writing first. My whole goal now is I've got some narrations that I want to do, similar to the Penguin Saves television, but this one will probably be more for adults. I did the last show that was talking about all the destruction in Kentucky with the natural disasters. So, for instance, like the blender bouquet, or this one that has like the vacuum cleaner. When I see something, you see a lot of that destruction, everything's like flattened, but then you always see like this one untouched object kind of sitting there. I would say with a lot of my stuff, I'm trying to help somebody navigate their own issues or entertain in that way, to where they show up and they can see a story, and then they want to pass that story along. Whether it lives in its own box or rectangle, I'm hoping that they bring their own story to it or attach to it, and then it can kind of breed throughout mentally. I'm working, I like to find stuff more than already know where I'm going and get there. I'll start with a subject, but it seems from my experience that if I want to go towards this direction, I tend to not make it there. Or I finally get there and it's a little bit of a letdown. So starting over, there'll be hints of this story still there that I can kind of weave like a quilt in a way, and then make a more suggestive piece than a literal. That's one thing that's kind of cool about painting, is it can just always be evolving. And the materials I'm using, I could come in here, take a painting that's 10 years old and add 5 or 6 little things in there, and it's a whole new concept. And what I like to do too is I'll just make a painting and I'll have it 10 different concepts depending on what show it's in.